Hey guys, Owen Keeley here, performance coach, international athlete, and national record holder. Over the last few years, I've helped hundreds of high performers drop stubborn belly fat, build muscle, and optimize their day-to-day energy and performance, all while balancing busy careers, families, full-time jobs, the works. And today we are going to be breaking down how to reduce or stop those evening cravings. So this is a huge issue for a lot of clients, just a lot of people in general that I actually talk to. So by the end of the video today, you're going to know what the biggest causes of evening cravings are and the 3 easiest fixes to implement to instantly fix these tonight. So let's get into it. So yeah, first off, we're just going to be giving you a run through of what the actual main reasons that you do get evening cravings at night are. And the first one, and this is by far the most prevalent one, is that you're actually under eating on protein, full stop, or you're under eating on protein in the first half of the day. Okay, so this is something that is going to lead to unstable appetite levels. It's going to lead to cravings later on in the day. We want to think about protein as not just fueling our muscles, as not just being useful for recovery, but it's also incredibly useful for giving you satiety throughout the day. Okay, so research has been done on this and has showed that when you get a good sized protein feeding in the first half of the day, it will significantly help to reduce cravings in the second portion of the day. So it's definitely something we want to be aiming on, getting a good serving, a good feeding of protein in that first meal of the day, aiming for upwards of 40 grams for most people. And this is really going to help to offset those cravings later on in the day. The second one then is going to be that you're actually snacking too much. So maybe your meals that you're having during the day are quite small or quite reasonable. Maybe they're healthy, but if you're snacking constantly in between them, it's going to lead to, again, uneven energy levels. It's going to lead to little spikes of dopamine, followed by crashes, followed by the need or the want to actually get more dopamine, and you're going for more little snacks and cravings and sweet treats. And this is a negative spiral that we don't want to get into. The simplest way of doing it is by just actually cutting snacking completely, just sticking to full meals instead, aiming for, for most people between 2 and 4 meals per day is going to be just perfect. And this is going to allow you to actually eat more food in these meals as well. Getting good servings of protein in and good servings of vegetables and fiber in with these meals as well. Again, it mightn't be the sexiest thing you've ever heard, but does it work? Yes. Okay, and the next thing is going to be one that maybe you're not too familiar with, and that is going to be that you're probably having too many carbs first thing in the morning, okay? France actually breaks this rule the best. This is where I'm currently based in Bordeaux. Typical breakfast here would be, some sort of a pastry or bread with orange juice. It would be like a typical breakfast you'd see if you go out and you see breakfast menus. This is possibly the worst thing that you could have in the morning. You're getting fast-acting carbs in this meal, which is going to lead to a nice spike in energy, followed by a big crash in the afternoon, and which is going to, again, trigger cravings, little cues to overeat, especially around lunch. And if you don't give in then definitely for dinner. So again, we want to be thinking about, okay, definitely in the first half of the day, as well as just for how you feel, as well as just for performance. If you're not like a full-time athlete, if you're not training early in the day as well, try and think about slightly limiting your carbs around your first and your second meal and actually backloading them towards the end of the day instead is really going to help with cravings and also appetite regulation as well. And then the fourth one is actually going to be under fueling during the day. So this is especially relevant for people who are trying to lose fat and lose weight. And a very common spiral that tends to happen is they start the day off when willpower is high and they go, no, I'm not going to eat breakfast because the less food, the better. And they don't eat breakfast, and then they get to lunch and they might eat quite a small lunch as well. And then by the time, 3 p.m., 4 p.m. rolls around, they're absolutely starving. They get to dinner and they think, you know what, I can reward myself. I can treat myself now because I have eaten nearly nothing all day. And then it goes into an absolute all-out binge when they get to dinner time, where they'll have dinner, they'll have a big carb-heavy meal, they'll fill up on that, they won't get much veg in, they won't get much protein in. After that meal, they'll have the craving for something sweet. Again, they haven't eaten much food, so it's kind of okay to eat extra calories after, and they end up getting snacks, getting dessert after, and it's not a good place to be. Okay, so think about actually eating more so that you can actually bring down your calories. And what I mean by this is you want to be prioritizing your lean proteins, again, getting plenty of protein in that first meal, getting plenty of veg in, plenty of fruit in, plenty of fiber in throughout the day. It's really going to help to fill you up, to give you the nutrients that you actually need, not the ones that you want in the moment, the ones that you actually need. And it's going to help to reduce those cravings significantly towards the end of the day. And then number 5 is going to be emotional or stress cravings. So These are going to increase the desire for energy, especially for little quick hits of dopamine. So you're going to be, when you're stressed, when you're particularly emotional, you're going to be more likely to go for these little hits of dopamine. That's what your brain is craving because it's deprived of that at the time. The thing about this is, when we give in to these cravings, when we do go for, say, that chocolate bar or the ice cream, when we're feeling this way, we get little hit, we get little spike, which is rewarding at the time, and then it's followed by a crash. Maybe later on the day, maybe the next day, we get a big crash. And then we fall into this pattern of, when I'm feeling bad, I reach for this and it makes me feel better. But it actually makes you feel worse afterwards, after the fact. It's a bit like a drug addict. Say, for example, even just a smoker. When they get their cigarettes, they get their nicotine, they feel good, they feel, relaxed, or whatever the feelings are that they get from that. And then as soon as that finishes, as soon as it ends, they actually feel more agitated, more irritated off the back end. So they're getting the reverse of what they want in a bigger quantity following a short period of relief. Whereas a lot of the time, if you can just remove this trigger completely, if you can remove those sweet treats completely, or you can substitute them for different things, so like fruits or proper meals, what happens then is you don't get the craving off the back end, and it might be harder in the moment not to give in. But once you do this a couple of times, you build up the discipline, you actually get a good feeling off the back end, and then you're less likely to do it in future. Okay. And then number 6 is going to be one that's often overlooked as well. And this is actually poor sleep. So poor sleep is going to result in you being, again, a little bit more deprived of dopamine. It's going to result in your mood being a little bit lower, you being more tired. You're going to be more likely to reach for those sweet treats. Okay. So this is something that, if this is the big constraint, the big bottleneck, and this is exactly what we do in the Everyday Stronger method, if this is the big thing limiting you at the moment, we focus entirely on this until we get it to a point where it's no longer a bottleneck. Then we move on to the next thing. Because a lot of the time, if this is the big bottleneck and you're putting all your energy and focus into fixing something else, it doesn't matter how much work or effort or energy you put into the other thing. Without this being solved, there's no point wasting energy on this other thing. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. From here, we're going to hop into the 3 biggest fixes, because we did go through a lot of the problems there. We went through a lot of the simple, tips and tricks and things we could do to offset them. But what are the big things now that we want to implement so that we don't get cravings going forward? And the first thing, the big rock here, is going to be to front load your protein. And like we were saying before, this is beneficial for so many reasons. Multiple studies have done research on this and have proven the effectiveness of front loading your protein on reducing cravings later on in the day, but almost no one does it still. Okay, so we really want to think about, okay, what do we need to do to make this happen? Do we need to prep food ahead of time? Do we need to utilize supplements here? So protein shakes in the morning is another good one if we don't have time, if we don't normally eat breakfast. It's a simple fix for this one. Are we going to be better off having real foods, things like eggs, things like yogurt? Yes, we're going to get more nutritional value from them. They're going to be a better protein source. But if we don't have the time or energy or effort, or if we know we're not going to do that for right now, a better option would be going to the protein shakes than not doing it at all. So we want to be aiming to get in, for this one, just to give you a clear marker, we want to be aiming to get in upwards of 40 grams of protein, okay, in this first meal. And again, this is going to help to fill you up. It's going to help to set your circadian rhythm a little bit better as well, which is a nice thing that ties back to our sleep. But it's also just going to help to reduce or even eliminate cravings later on in the day. So it's a simple change, but it's the single change that actually will fix most cravings. Again, a lot of the time, it's not the fun, sexy thing that you haven't heard of. It's maybe something that you might have heard of before, but it's just effective and it works, and it's what you actually need to do and action off the back of this. So this is one, if you're not doing it currently, definitely get on it if you're dealing with those late night cravings. Number 2 is going to be to actually eat fewer meals, or to snack less, okay? So this one, again, is probably not what you want to hear, but is definitely what you need to hear. So I'm actually going to put snack less first, and then we're going to say fewer meals. And the reason that we do this is, again, when we get meals in, fewer meals, we have bigger meals. When we have bigger meals, what tends to be increased is the portion of protein, the portion of veg that we're having, the portion of maybe fruit that we're having alongside it. And what that leads to is increased protein intake, increased fiber intake, less snacking, less processed foods, less spikes in energy and dips, more stable energy levels, more stable insulin levels as well, which are all going to keep you satiated, more balanced throughout the day, and lead to less need for reaching for that sweet treat when it gets to night. So think about snacking less, having fewer meals throughout the day is going to be another, again, small action. Doesn't take much time or effort to do, but has a very profound effect. Okay, and then number 3 is going to be one, again, that you mightn't have heard of before, and maybe is a little bit against the grain, from the previous carbs before bed make you fat, that bullshit. But this is going to be to actually backload your carbs. And this is an incredibly useful strategy that I use personally and use with so many of the people inside the Everyday Stronger method as well. And it just works. It works well, So with this, when you backload carbs, what it helps to do is, number 1, it helps to satiate you, fill you up more. It also helps to increase your serotonin. It's a molecule that's released in your brain, okay? And it leads to you having feelings of being calm, relaxed, satisfied, and actually helps you sleep as well. Okay, so when you backload carbs, you're not only improving your mood a little bit and you're calm and you're bringing yourself into a more relaxed state, but you're also indirectly going to improve your sleep off the back end. Okay, so it's another nice one to pair in with that. In terms of carb sources, so again, try and stick with the cleaner carb sources. These are less processed carb sources is what we're talking about here. So instead of, say, pizza, potatoes or rice, or even like a nice sourdough bread, or even a pasta, something like that, okay? That we can actually get a decent portion of carbohydrates in here. Again, once we're hitting our daily calorie intake, our daily protein intake, carbs before bed are not going to make you fat, and are just going to help to satiate you more, so fill you up more. They're going to help to increase your serotonin, so improve your sense of relaxation, of calm, of satisfaction. So you're going to be less likely to need those sweet things after the meal. And then again, they're going to help to improve your sleep. So the next day, you're going to be craving things less again. Also, a bonus tip on this one is that if you do train fasted in the morning, one of the best things that you can do for performing better the next morning is to actually load up on carbs on your last meal of the day. So to actually backload your carbs, have more at dinner, your muscles are going to be nice and full of glycogen, and you're going to be ready to go come morning time. Just make sure you're hydrated when you are actually getting ready for that session in the morning. And this is another time that utilizing water and electrolytes is going to be very, very useful. So that is it. That is pretty much everything for today. To recap again, so we have front load your protein, reduce the snacking, and backload your carbs at night. It is as simple as this. If you do apply these 3 things, cravings will dramatically drop within just a couple of days. So stick with it for the first few days. You might notice the effect off the bat, but within a couple of days, you absolutely will. If you enjoyed this video or got value from it, it would mean the absolute world if you could drop a like, if you could rate it as well. If you're listening to it on Spotify, that would be fantastic. And if you do know a friend, maybe a family member, or anyone who struggles with evening cravings, please share this with them. It'll be your good deed done for the day. It'll help them, and it'll help us to grow the channel as well and just do more good in the world as well, which is a big thing we are out for. And if you do want help speeding up this process, removing the guesswork, and just having a system in place that keeps you accountable and guarantees results, you can either drop me an email, a DM on Instagram, or you can hit the link below. I'll be happy to set up a quick chat and see what we can do together. Apart from that, I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week, and I'm looking forward to catching you in the next one.